I've never been this confident, this relaxed as a Guardians fan, Cleveland fan, even in my life. I always wait to talk smack until the final inning. Till the final out is recorded. Because I've just learned, right? Much like we've been on the opposite side of those Green Bay losses. What Green Bay lost this weekend, we usually lose those games. And so being a Cleveland sports fan has told me, don't talk until they can't bring it back. Dwayne Rudd has taught me, do not talk until it's officially done and there's no penalty. I even love that part of the Packers game on Sunday where Nathan was waiting for verification of, what's that penalty on? It's on the Packers, we win! Like, that's how you are as a Cleveland fan. And last night, it was right before they added the final 2 runs, the insurance runs. I was like, okay, this game's over. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to get some sleep tonight. Because I hadn't gotten sleep all week, and I was like, I think this game's done. It was in the 7th inning. Like, you want to talk about how ridiculous this run has been and how thoroughly cooked the Tigers are, especially when they play the Guardians, is that I was like, okay, I guess we're going to go to bed here. And so as I was going upstairs, I noticed, Hosey, more runs, cool, 5-1, all right. And then I slept as well as I've slept all week. Because I just knew no matter how much time was left in the game was over, and it sure was.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was on the air at that point, and I was waiting to react to the game. But there, even early on, in a way that we haven't been able to be all season long, like in both of the games they just played against the Tigers, they go down first, right? And I know that the broadcast had flashed the graphic coming into this series. It was like, team that scores first. When it's the Tigers, they were 60-20 on the year. When it was the Guardians, they were 59-20. Mm-hmm. So the key to the game was basically score first and you win. Both the nights the Tigers have scored first, and even when they were down 2-0 on Tuesday, I was sitting there and I was like, there was a time this season where I would have been like, they're done.
Yeah.
Like down 2-0, you're entering the 5th or the 6th inning.
That was like 3 weeks ago, by the way, the time you're referring to.
Wasn't that long ago. But it was just like the offense won't put up runs, they won't do it. Both those games, I sat there and I'm like, you just have a feeling that the comeback is just waiting here. Even if it wasn't Guardians win the game, just because it's 2-0 going into the 6th, where at one point it was so out of it, and you're like, that might be, the thing that just puts this team down in the dumps, and they're just going to swing away for the last 4 innings. It was like, no, this team's not even close to coming out of it, and I can't just turn off the TV because Guardians didn't score first, this one's over.
Yeah. Well, and to what you're saying, like, there have been so many times where you can, for the opposite, I have called games early. Mm-hmm. And again, occasionally they've surprised me, but it's just, and here's the other thing, it's just fun. Like, this has been just unbridled fun. And it has been. Like, what's funny is Tuesday's game was so much fun outside of the David Fry thing. It was so much fun that I just was so charged up. But, like, I didn't fear losing last night. And by the way, even had they lost, I would have been like, okay, we'll get them again tonight. It's such a rarefied air to be in. And it's so funny because there's been so many different ways of defining the historic run for the Cleveland Guardians. And it starts with, the biggest lead erased in the division, right? And then it goes to, in these 21-22 games, you have you've given up like 30 runs or something like that. And the next closest team is like in the 70s or 80s, right? So there are so many, the starting pitching, the bullpen, the timely hitting, the 3 hits that you got in the 6th inning of the first game of this series. There are so many different ways where it's just like, you just have to sit back and enjoy one of the all-time greatest heaters. And the whole will the pitching regress thing, fair conversation. Probably at some point, but I don't know. Hey, can this translate into postseason? I think so, but I don't know. All those conversations, and by the way, that we have to start having now because we haven't had them for the 3 previous weeks because none of this was real until a week ago. We were all just playing with house money until a week ago. Now we get to have them, and we don't have to do the paralysis by overanalysis thing because it's just good vibes every night. Like, you don't get this. Like, this exact confluence of events has never happened before, and it will never happen again. And I think people in this town know enough about baseball and how all of these seasons, good and bad, have gone over the last 30 years, since 1994 when they moved into that building. Don't question it, right? Yeah, there's a conversation for another day. Today, just enjoy the vibes. Just enjoy what is so historic and so outlandish. And then if they don't win the World Series, I'll worry about that when they don't win the World Series. Or if they do win the World Series, it'd be the funniest team that possibly could win a World Series in Indians history.
Yeah, I mean, I was even just taking calls throughout the past 2 nights. I did get the vibe, by the way, that a majority of the fan base, like probably 95% of our callers, were much so on the same track that you're on, where it's, let's not focus on the things ahead. Like, this is an incredible run. Let's focus on the run. I mean, we had, as wild as it is, a father and a son call in completely separate of each other, went to the game together, got in their separate cars, drove away, didn't know they were on the line at the same time. Both of them were like, this is generational. Like, this is things that will set this team up, that you'll be talking about it for generations, that will make Guardians fans right now that, you know, you were on the fence. It was like, you watch the season, do I really want to be a Guardians fan? These are the things that make you a lifelong fan of this team.
So this came up in the pre-show meeting, and I am genuinely curious where you land on it. I know it's been described as Detroit Hate Week. That's a little forced, but it is a fun week because you've got the second 3-game series with the Tigers. This one's at home, which helps in 2 weeks' time, and then we kind of buttress that at the end of the week with the Lions game. So does the Guardians-Tigers divisional race add more juice to this Lions game?
The answer for me is undoubtedly yes, but it almost makes me feel like a bad person.
Why is that?
Because I'm like, the only reason why it adds more juice to it is because I basically want to kick Detroit fans while they're down. And I'm like, it makes me feel like a bad person. You know, the Lions are projected way higher than the Browns are ever going to be this season, are probably going to be more successful than the Browns will be, have been in the past. I don't know. You could probably go back to 99. The Lions might be more successful this year than they have ever been. But it's just like, I see you down, and I'm watching this play out, and I'm watching the collapse on social media of Tigers fans, and I'm like, those are also Lions fans, and I think it'd be really funny, and it'd be a lot of fun if I could just throw one more kick your way.
If this was somehow like a Detroit Pistons playoff series, I know that's not how things line up, but if it was like Cavs Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals while you're getting ready to go to the playoffs and trumping the Tigers on the way, it would be for me. It would be. It would add so much more juice because those are the two places where there is real historical heat between the two organizations. There's an element of this, though, that I'm like, there's nothing the Browns can or can't do on Sunday that will ruin this for me. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, my buddy Jim Costa was on Tuesday. He texted me as Scooble was falling apart. And he said, I'm not having fun right now. And I was like, that's funny because I am enjoying every second of it. He did not return my text, by the way. Nor has he texted me since that moment because I gloated just enough. But like, I guarantee you, if the Lions put boots to your asses on Sunday the way that they did to the Ravens on Monday, I guarantee you he's going to send a text of, who's laughing now? And I'll be like, me. I still am. Yeah, because you're supposed to beat the Cleveland Browns, and quite frankly, for 140 games, you were supposed to beat the Cleveland Guardians, and didn't happen. Like, to me, it's added value, but I'm not like more excited for this Lions game because I still compartmentalize Lions fandom and Tigers fandom, even though we know they're the same people.
Yeah, maybe that's where I feel like I'm a bad person, though, because I'm in a place where it's like, okay, I'm with you, right? Like, it's not going to ruin the Guardians, anything Guardians-wise for me if the Browns go out to lose. The expectation is that the Browns go out and lose against the Lions. But it would be the same thing. The same way that actually, you brought up the Cavs and the Pistons, if they played each other in the playoffs, it'd be another moment for me. I'd be like, okay, well, I did it to the Tigers. I managed to do it to the Lions, even though I'm sure season-wise they'll have the last laugh. If I can do it to the Pistons in the playoffs, too, that's like the cherry on top. It's the fun of almost watching a fan base collapse because like you feel bad for him in a very slight way where it's like, yeah, I get where you're coming from, but also I've been in that moment so many times and I've been kicked while I'm down that it's actually kind of fun to do it to somebody else.
Maybe this is the way I think about it. If Jim is able to text me on Sunday, how about those Browns, whatever, my response is going to be, this doesn't offset what happened this week, right? Or over these last month. Because this is one day, and that was 1 month of slowly stalking you like Michael Myers in Halloween, and you could not get away, no matter how fast you ran. I will say, we're just talking, does the Tigers, Guardians, divisional race add more juice to the Lions? And the one thing I haven't said is there's just no crossover between the rivalries. I think that is that doesn't mean, by the way, a win wouldn't make it 3% sweeter. But that would also just be because a Browns win going with the Guardians, stealing, taking the division and then hosting a playoff game at some point next week. Well, that's just good fun.
Have to turn on the mic.
There you go.
Yeah. No, I'm in a spot where it's like, I've only been doing this for 7 months full time.
I forget once a week. Don't worry. I've been doing it since I was 21.
But it's in a spot though, like the rivalry doesn't cross over, but in a way this week it does. Like,
is it because you want it to, not because it actually does?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's okay if that's the answer.
No, it is the answer. It 100% is the answer. Like, it doesn't cross. Like, there's no hatred between Browns Lions. In fact, there's almost like
it's more self-hatred.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say
mutual self-hatred.
There's almost like a brotherhood, but like you look across it and it's like that team also went 0-16 and has suffered basically as bad as we have as a football team.
There's also envy, right?
Like, that they've gotten better and we haven't.
Well, no, it's also how they've gotten better. Like, if we liked Freddie Kitchens because he said whoopity hell and talked about drinking beer, I mean, Dan Campbell's the same kind of football guy, except he actually can coach, right? Like the style of play that Detroit plays is incredibly physical, buoyed by an incredible offensive line and one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. Sound familiar to the Browns' success when John Dorsey was here? Oh, hey, the architect of some of your success in John Dorsey is also the architect of their success. Like, there's so many parallels. I think if there's any juice between the Browns and Lions, it's, man, that could have been us on some level.
Yeah, it's also, when you talk about the way they've done it, too, it's like, you kind of stay true to the vibe and the personality of your city if you're the Detroit, which is a similar vibe and personality of the city of Cleveland, right? It's the middle class, the working class of, okay, Dan Campbell's somebody that you'd say would represent the city of Detroit, and if he was here, if he was here, would say he probably represents the city of Cleveland. The way that you look at Nick Chubb, he represents it. The way that you can look at even Myles Garrett to agree and to say, okay, he represents by working as hard as he does the city of Cleveland.
He's also a blue collar head coach, and Kevin's an Ivy Leaguer, right. And we're a blue collar town, not necessarily an Ivy League town.
Yeah, like we've been sold on. It has to be analytics. That's the way that football's gone. It has to be the offensive guru. And while the Lions have Ben Johnson, they're also proving right now that the offense works without him. And it's like, okay, so you're basically making it work just off of the rah-rah stuff. You're making it work because people want to run through a wall for Dan Campbell.
Yeah, culture. The thing that we feel like has not been consistently there, that they say, from the analytics community, say isn't a real thing. The only culture is winning. And I actually disagree. Like in fairness, the Browns did have some culture when the bottom was 7-10 or 8-9. Once you have 3-14, whatever culture you did have went out the window. Because I think there's a thin line between 7-10 and 10-7. There's not a thin line between 7-10 and 3-14.
Yeah, it's a massive difference. But like, I guess that's where it is. Because when you ask, like, is it basically me fabricating it, right? Is it because I want it to happen? Yes, it is. Some way the rivalry, and obviously it's less because you're in the same division. There's a natural rivalry there with the Tigers. That's almost fabricated in the way of the Tigers making this more than what it is with the Guardians, too. Like, I don't like the Tigers. I also look at basically every other team in the division and go, I don't know that I dislike the Tigers a whole lot more than I dislike any of them. Like right now, maybe a little.
Oh, I do.
But it's because of the right now.
No. That's also, you're a little young for this, but the Jim Leland years, there was a lot of, that team is pretty cocky. With Miggy Cabrera, with Dontrell, Jim himself is not he's a plain-spoken dude as well, and so he said some stuff that we've not forgotten. So, like, of any of the teams, like there was a minute in the early aughts with the Twins. Not consistently with the Twins, though. The White Sox, not since 03, and that was a blip, or 05, I think it was. That was like a blip. The Royals, they haven't been good hardly but 3 times. And by the way, the time they were best in the last 40 years was when you just had the time you stunk. This is like the Tigers, and it's also the proximity thing.
Yeah.
Like, I can't drive to Kansas City on a whim to go see a game between the two towns. Same thing with Minnesota. Chicago, maybe, but I'm still staying in Chicago if it's a 6:10 first pitch or a 7:10 first pitch, whereas in Detroit, okay, that game ends at midnight, that game ends at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I can be at home in bed by 1. Like, I think all of those things stack up, but for some reason, only the Tigers and a little bit of the Pistons.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, I guess for me, being younger and like, obviously, like,
I get it.
I remember,
you're youthful, you jerk.
I'm just saying, I remember like the Miggy times. I remember when the Tigers were, they're obviously not as good right now as they may have appeared to be in the beginning of the season.
Clear.
But they're still all right.
They're okay.
Yeah, but like, I remember the times where they were good and competing for a World Series with Verlander and everybody else. But it's like, it's been so much of the rivalry with the Tigers over the past decade plus has been that's little brother. Like, we own them. It doesn't feel as much to me as like a true rivalry.
This is such again, I will not punish you for being not, you don't remember everything of the Miggy Tigers. Because I will tell you, what Hosey does to them, Miguel Cabrera did to you for 14, 15 years.
Oh, I remember going to the games with my dad, being young and having, every time I go, it's a Tigers game and Miggy ruins it for me.
I'm going to tell you, though, it really pissed me off. Because remember, most of my baseball life, I'm used to running this division in one way or another. Mm-hmm. I was. 94 to 01, every year. Even if you didn't win the division, you were a wild card team, you went farther than anyone else around you went. And then you had like the early wedge years. You still had 93 wins here. You had the almost World Series in 2007. And then from the ashes of that, the Tigers took over. And then I didn't really hate this part. They traded for Johnny Peralta. They did this, that, the other. And no, I hate that team. Yeah, I do. That organization annoys me. They're also the only team in this division that acts more like a big market team than Minnesota, Kansas City, and even Chicago, even though they actually are a big market team. They've occasionally, they've signed Miggy at points to $300 million deal, whatever it was. Verlander had a huge contract for a minute. Like, it's funny to then juxtapose this to the Browns game, because I don't think the Guardians-Tigers does anything for that game on Sunday, because that game has juice by virtue of the fact the Browns are coming off a win. And the Lions, you can start to do, well, the Lions also have a short week. And, oh, by the way, beating them would give you some sort of sense of self, because you've just beaten Green Bay and Detroit, even though those are out-of-conference wins and don't help you the same way if it was beating teams in your own division or in their own conference. So it's this weird spot of, it's like, I'm also just like, well, that game only really has juice for me if the Browns kind of surprise people and make that a close game and even win that game.
So is this just a Me Chronically Online thing where I'm just constantly living in like a half Detroit, like a Twitter space, basically, where I'm just constantly seeing that? Because, again, that feeling of, I know how they'll react if the Browns beat the Lions, that does something for me. Like, that fulfills something with me of being like, okay, so I'm watching you all crash out right now over the Tigers. Like, that's already as much fun as can be. If I can just add on one extra thing, if it can be the straw that breaks the camel back, and just watch you sit there and be like, that's it, Cleveland owns us. Like, that fulfills me now.
Maybe this is a better way to put it than from where I'm thinking here. Because again, it's how you feel. I can't tell you how to feel. But so I look at the Guardians-Tigers game as the end-all, be-all tonight. Finish off the sweep, finish off the division, finish off, potentially the 3 seed. Like, do this, right? And then anything that happens positively in the Browns and Lions game is a kicker. So it doesn't add juice to that game, but it's like, I'm as a Cleveland fan, I'm playing with house money on Sunday, because we are coming off a win that nobody thought we should have gotten, which is a little fluky. And, oh boy, we just tattooed your ass. So anything you say to me about, oh, how'd that Lions game go? I'll be like, how'd that Tiger series go? How'd both those Tiger series go? By the way, we're probably going to see this next week. Like, I guess we're in this rare situation where it does feel like, oh, hot damn. Like, well, I can just let the Browns roll out on Sunday. We'll see how it goes. But I'm a little Teflon because things are going so well. Okay, it's like if your personal life is going really well and the professional life isn't. It's like, that's fine. That's just work, right? Like, I'll deal with work when I got to work, but everything's so gravy here, life is undefeated. That's kind of where I am right now.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like we're both making it into win-win scenarios. It's just like we're taking different paths to get to a win-win scenario. Either way.
I like my path better.
Well, I like my path better.
I think we all know whose path is better.
I have a longer path.
Ooh, big shooter over here. La-ti-da-ti-da. Nim Jaber saying Victor Martinez. Every Guardians fan, every Indians fan knows exactly what that means. Yes. I think it's switched around for Jim Neighbors, who was Gomer Pyle. That was a show in the 60s, Jake.